We continue now at the top of Daf Chofhem and Beis in Meseches Gittin. This is Gittin Daf 25b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara said that Rabbi Yehuda makes a distinction between Tola B'das Atzmo and Tola B'das Acherim when it comes to Breira. When it comes to Tola B'das Atzmo, as we are about to see, so there Rabbi Yehuda says there is no Breira. And the reason is because if the person is making it dependent on something that he himself will decide in the future, so it's clear at the moment that he's undecided, that he is undecided. You can't say that in the future it becomes clear all along, retroactively, this is what he decided, if he himself is stating that he's undecided. Whereas by Tola B'das Acherim, so there Rabbi Yehuda, we're going to see in a moment, he does hold the Breira. He makes that distinction. Why is there Breira? Because there the person is certain, based on future events, what it is that he wants to do. And so the Gemara now continues with the Tosefta. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Again, we're talking about a situation where a person buys wine from the Kusim, and he doesn't have another vessel to put in the Trum and the Meiser. So what he does is he says, the 2 Lugin that in the future I will separate, that's going to be Truma, and then the 10 will be Meiser Rishon, etc. Umeichel v'shosa miyad divrei Rabbi Meir. And Rashi says, what's umeichel? Umeichel meiser sheni mechalel b'dibur bi'al malmos. Meaning, he takes the meiser sheni and he puts that kedusha, he transfers it over to money, sheyesh lo b'bayis, which he has in the house, demasha efshelo l'sakin legamri yisakin. Because what he's able to fix completely, he might as well fix completely. In other words, when it comes to the meiser sheni, there's an easy solution of just taking that kedusha meiser sheni and taking it from the wine and instead putting it on the money. And in any case, that's what he's able to do. V'shosa miyad, he drinks immediately after he does this, according to Rabbi Meir. The point is, now he has said that which I will separate in the future will be truma, meiser, etc. So now it's no longer tevel. Whatever he drinks, that's retroactively clearly selected as chulin. And later on, when he separates out and he says this is the truma, it becomes that was the truma all along. V'yesh breira. Essentially, Rabbi Meir in this Tosefta is saying that there is breira. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Osrin. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon, they say, Osir, you're not allowed to do this. And as Rashi over here says, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Osrin, the less lahu breira, because they do not hold the breira, but Tola B'das Atzmo, and this is a case of Tola B'das Atzmo, Shu Atzmo Motzi Asayayin, because he himself is later selecting what wine is the Truma and the Meiser, etc. And the Gemara continues, Tola B'das Acherim Islay breira. When it comes to Tola B'das Acherim, Rabbi Yehuda does hold the breira. Where do we see that? The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, and the Mishnah, this is a Mishnah later on, the Mishnah says, Mahi ba'osan hayamim, what is her status during that interim period of time? Rabbi Yehuda says, Harehi ke'eshes ish, l'chol devareah, she's considered like a married woman in terms of all halachas, u'lechi mayis havigita, and when he dies, so it will be a get. Rashi over here explains, Mahi ba'osan hayamim, what is her status during those days? L'kamon b'misha achzu, this is a case later on in Misha achzu, zagitech me'achshav imati mecholi zeh. Let's say the person says, this is your get from now if I die from this illness. So harei the get imeis me'osa choli. So it is going to be a get if it turns out that he does die from that illness. Mahi kol yimei hacholi. And then the question is, what is her status during that time when he's sick? And so the Mishnah said, ke'eshes ish, Rabbi Yehuda said she's like an eshes ish. Meaning im kohen, who meaning if he's a kohen, the husband's a kohen, ochelas betruma, she's considered married to him, she can have truma. Vim zinsen, for example, if she would commit adultery at that point in time, bechenek, it would be a punishment of chenek, a punishment of strangulation. Ulechimayis havigita. Now, when he dies, it will be a get. The katani reisha hareis a get, because it does say in the beginning of the Mishnah that it is a get. Va'ayre Rabbi Yehuda b'mehi ba'osan hayam. Rabbi Yehuda is talking about what's her status in the interim. Alma lo polig v'reisha. You see that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't argue with what was said in the beginning of the Mishnah, that the get is effective. V'lo amrinan get lachar misu. We don't say it's a get that's being given after death, which wouldn't be good. Kevan damar me'achshav, because the way that he phrased it was retroactively. From now, if I die from this illness, it's going to be a get. Meaning, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the get is effective should he die from the illness, and it will be effective retroactively. And again, Rabbi Yehuda said in the interim period, she's considered an eshes ish. V'avagav dechishenosan haget. And now Rashi explains, even though at the moment that he gave the get, have a mesaf galei im yechiyam yamis, it was certainly a doubt whether he would live or die. V'tola had tanai b'das mishamosu v'chayev tluyim biyado, and he's essentially making this tanai dependent on the one who is in control of life and death, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Uchashemesin, when he dies, amrin on huvra hadover. When he does die, we say it's clear all along. The mishas nesina hayaroi lamas mechol. He said that from the moment he gave the get, he was going to die from this illness. And it's going to be a get from that point in time when he gave it. That was the condition. V'ein zeh keshar tanoim. And now Rashi points out, this is not like a normal situation of Tanai. You could say, what does this have to do with Breira? There's many cases we have of a get that's given on condition. This is not the same. Shadamasna beget shabiyad l'kaimam v'daita l'kaimam. Because most Tanoim are things that a person makes a condition within the get, something that he's able to fulfill and he intends on fulfilling. That's the usual Tanai. Keshamasna leim. When he makes the Tanai, there's an intention to fulfill the condition. When the Tanai is fulfilled, it becomes a get retroactively. To hasam lav time mishum breira. In those cases, it has nothing to do with breira. But over here, de'ein biyada, where it's something totally out of his control. Uveshas hatanai hu safek. At the time of the tanai, he has a doubt whether it's which direction it will go. V'hatanai miskayim me'elav, and the tanai is going to just happen on its own, one way or the other. Ilav mishum breira lo have a get mechayim. If not for the fact that we were employing breira, it would not be a good get while he was alive. And the point over here is, you see, regardless of what Rav Yehuda says in terms of what her status is in the interim, the fact is Rav Yehuda says that the get is good if he does eventually die from the illness, and it's good retroactively, and that must be employing breira. You see that in a situation of Tola b'das acherim, Rav Yehuda employs breira. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Rav Misharshi le Rava. Rav Misharshi says to Rava, and the Mesoras Hashas says some have the girsa of Ravina. Ravina says to Rava. Rabbi Shimon, we have another example of someone who makes a distinction between Tola b'das atzmo and Tola b'das acherim, which is Rabbi Shimon. The Tola b'das atzmo less le breira. By Tola b'das atzmo he doesn't hold the breira. But Tola b'das acherim is le breira, and by Tola b'das acherim he does hold the breira. Tola b'das atzmo less le breira hadiyamr. Now the case of Tola b'das atzmo where he does not hold the breira, that's what we just quoted above. That's the Tosefta by the wine from the Kusim. It said Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Shimon, they all say Aser, because again, there's no breira. That was the case of Tola b'das atzmo. As Rashi says, Hadamr balokeach yayin. Again, the case we just brought above, when one is purchasing the wine from the Kusim. So there we understand that Rabbi Shimon holds Tola b'das atzmo less le breira, and Tola b'das acherim is le breira. By Tola b'das acherim, Rabbi Shimon does hold of breira. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, Hareini ba lecha manas sheyirtza abba. I'm having relations with you for the purposes of Kedushin. Kedushin can be done with an act of bia, and that's on the condition, al manas, on the condition that father approves. So even though the father does not approve, it is still a good Kiddushin. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, Omer Mishum Rabbi Shimon, but Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Shimon, Ratza av mikudeshes. If the father approves, then it's a good Kiddushin. Rashi says, Hareini bo'alech l'shem Kiddushin, d'isha niknes b'bia. Again, this is an act of bia for the sake of Kiddushin. Afal pishalo ratza av mikudeshes. The first opinion was, even if the father does not approve, it's a good Kiddushin. Dein adam osa bi laso bi lasnus, because there's a principle, a person is not going to have an act of relations that's just an act of znus. The gomer believable the Kiddushin gemur, and in his heart, he's already considering it as a real Kiddushin. Va'afilu lo yirtza av. Even if the father doesn't approve, really his intention is that it should be a Kiddushin. That's the opinion of the Tanakama. We will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chavav Amud Aleph.